Namaste, everybody. I know this is supposed to be a spiritual channel, and we're mostly supposed to talk about psychology, spirituality, and philosophy to a certain extent. But whenever I see these UFC fighters, I could not help but visualize Arjuna going into the battlefield and Krishna sort of telling him how to deal with his emotions, with his anxiety, with his fear, and with a lot of other conflicting emotions when you step into the battlefield. I couldn't help but relate both of these things, and what the sports psychologists are doing these days for these UFC fighters and sports people in other dimensions is a lot like what Krishna did for Arjuna. So in this video, Cory Sandhangen is talking about his psychedelic experience when he was fighting his last fight. He's a UFC fighter, he's a cage fighter, and these people do put their lives on the line, their bodies on the line when they step into the cage. So whenever I see these guys talk about the mental, the psychological side of things, I couldn't help but notice and equate it with what goes through all of our minds on a daily basis. These guys just have an exaggerated level of emotions because they're literally putting what we value, what a normal person values the most is their body, is their entire being, and they're putting it on the line almost every 3 to 4 months. So let's talk more about it. Let's have a look at the video and we'll get into it and we'll see what sort of learnings we get out of it.
The space I was in before that Cheeto fight was unlike one that I feel like I've ever been in my life.
How so?
You know, have you read like a decent amount of sports psych books?
Yes.
Where they'll sometimes talk about how you...
I haven't read any sports psych books. I mean, I haven't finished any sports psych books. I've started a few. I haven't finished up. I haven't been interested enough to finish up, to be honest. But I have read the Bhagavad Gita. I've read a few Gitas, and I've read a few spiritual books. I've read Ashtavakra Gita, which mentions the same thing that he would be talking about. So let's get into it.
Almost having this out-of-body experience where you're
out-of-body experience,
where you're almost like floating above the court or the field or whatever.
I think what he's talking about is the witness consciousness. When you meditate a lot, or if you're having a psychedelic experience, you will probably have had this experience before, where you feel like your emotions are still there, but you're not inside those emotions, but you're watching those emotions. So if the anger is there, you can watch the anger. You're not invested in it, you're not involved in it, you're not standing in the middle of the storm, but you're watching the storm happen and you're out of the storm. So you're basically out of your monkey mind, so to say. Let's get more into it.
Almost like that, except I wouldn't use the word like floating above, but I got to a space in that fight where I felt like all of the thoughts and all of the distracting things that sometimes happen in a fight were completely ignored, and this like higher being, better version, like best no thinker, just actor was
the higher being, higher consciousness, or people like to call it a lot of things. You can call it big words, you can make it as big as you want, or you can make it as little as you want. You can give it a lot of importance, or you can keep it low key, but that's the basic idea of it, is that you're not involved in the thing that you're feeling. I mean, your mind is feeling it, your mind has emotions, but your monkey mind has those emotions, but you're sort of out of it, and you can see it happen and let it pass over you. There was this one time when I was with a colleague of mine at work, and I was having a bad work experience, a bad day at work. I was getting angry and stuff. So I could feel that my mind was getting angry. So I said to him, he said, "Are you feeling all right? It's been a bad day for both of us." And I told him, like, today I feel like I'm flying on top of a lava field. It felt like there was a field of fire, a volcano had erupted, and I was flying on top of it on a helicopter, so I could feel the anger, but I was sort of watching it from a bird's eye view, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I felt like saying I wasn't angry, but there was anger coming inside of me, and I knew it was gonna go and pass the consciousness, or past the witness, or go past my awareness. So yeah, I think that's what he's feeling, right? That's what he felt during the fight. Let's get more into it.
In the show, like it's almost like I was watching the thing happen while I was in the fight, and there would be bits of me hopping in and being like, hey, throw this combination, hey, take a little bit more of a risk, hey, do this, and then that would get completely just watched, and this whoever was fighting that night that didn't even feel like me was the person that was fighting. It was fucking,
it didn't even feel to him like that was him. So that tells you a lot about the whole thing. The witness consciousness, or the Shiva consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, or the Christ consciousness, whatever the spiritual people like to call it, is untouched by any emotions, is untouched by your thoughts, and is simply the awareness. So yeah, I've gone into a lot of thought experiments with this, and I'm not the original guy that came up with these things or anything like that, but if you observe your finger and you think, who is the one looking at the finger? It's you. But who knows that you're looking at the finger, and who knows that the person that knows? So it can go to infinity. It's like you have a mirror here and you have a mirror there, and they're both projecting this infinite image of mirror inside a mirror inside a mirror inside a mirror. That's what it mentally feels like. So I don't know if you're keeping up with this or not, but it is a little bit mind-bending if you think about it. So yeah, I believe the witness of your mind, or the guy that's witnessing your mind, is untouched, and that's where you got to tap into if you want to really be centered. That's where stoicism comes from as well, I believe. I don't know if stoicism is derived directly from the Eastern philosophies, but I think that's what its meditation's principles are supposed to be. You always be the witness, but don't be affected by it. So let's get more into it anyways.
oh man, wow, it was cool, dude. It was like, like a psychedelic experience feeling type of thing.
Really?
It was cool.
What do you attribute that to? How did you get to that mindset?
It's a lot of messing stuff up. Like I remember the last time I was on was right after I had beaten Frankie, and
a lot of messing stuff up. So that's where people turn to spirituality or even psychology, where they've had terrible experiences and they want to step out of it. I still remember people coming up to a spiritual guru, or where I used to go, where I used to have some sort of consultations about things, and it wasn't somebody big or anything. It was just a small time guy, nobody popular or anything like that. But a great individual, and somebody came up to him and asked him for some spiritual guidance, but the whole point of it for them was to achieve something really, really superficial and materialistic, not even a long-term goal, but a really short-term goal. So he said, you're not ready for it. So you haven't had enough bad experiences in your life. You need to learn from your bad experiences. I think Cory Sandhangen has learned a lot, and he's had a lot of terrible experiences, in terms of a lot of intense experiences. I would say not terrible, but it all depends on your perspective, whether it's a terrible experience or an incredible experience. But I believe he's had some intense experiences that I don't think many people, even on psychedelics or bad trips, have had. So I believe his life has been, as a cage fighter, his life has been more than a bad trip. I feel like it can be it's been an intense trip, let's just put it that way. Let's get more into it.
I was in, it's just a bunch of different parts of the journey, and
so basically what I'm saying is, all these experiences have made him ready to step out of his feelings and his emotions and his thinking mind, and they have allowed him to they have motivated him to become the witness to all of these, instead of just continuing to step in and getting involved in these emotions and feelings. So bad experiences, incredibly intense experiences, can be a teacher, and most of the times are a teacher.
In that part of the journey, I was really in this space where if I could make myself more war, if I could make myself more angry, if I could make myself be up here, I would have success. That kind of stopped working a little bit after like around the TJ fight, and then kind of during the Jan fight, and then definitely I tried to be that guy against Song, and it was like too much of a distracting feeling, where now my mindset's going into the last fight, because it was such like a distracting feeling, just feeling like I have to get myself to a point of anger or upness before a fight where it just became distracting, where it was helpful before it became distracting in that Song fight. I bailed on that, and I just tried to be as mindful and as present as I possibly could. For like, and I know that those are like kind of corny words now, but there is some real substance.
Incredible. This channel is all about corniness. We're gonna talk about a lot of corny stuff that sounds corny, but it's very practical. So yeah, I believe that did help him from his past experiences. As I said, he wasn't in it, as he said, in his previous fight. He didn't feel he was present in the moment. He was seeing everything through this lens. He stepped into this emotional, his monkey brain, his monkey mind, and he was seeing everything projected through those emotions of trying to get himself angry or trying to get himself amped up. But in his previous fight, he stepped out of it and he watched his monkey mind sort of go through these ups and downs of fear before stepping inside, and that seems to have helped him. Let's listen to some more, another part of the clip.
I'm a self-learner, and I think that there's ways of being in life that like you just kind of have to be at certain times. Like when you're a young kid, like you have to be like going and hitting it hard. Like you have to remember all of the hundreds of thousands of people on the other half of the world that are trying to accomplish the same goal as you. And you have to be a little bit, in my opinion, you have to be a little bit on the neurotic side of like, am I doing every single thing correct? Am I doing?
So he says that he seems to be really appreciative of the position that he's in, being from the western part of the world, and he seems to be really appreciative of the things that he gets. He doesn't take things for granted. That's why he said the eastern side of the world or the other side of the world, people are hungrier, and thousands and millions of people want to get where he's at. So he appreciates the opportunity that he's getting. The neurotic part of it, I think it works for him, so it's good. I would try to keep it relaxed during the training, but then again, I'm not a fighter. He is, so if it works for him, that's good. But yeah, it can bite some people in the butt as well. So yeah, being relaxed, and Bhagavad Gita says about this, you don't worry about the results, you just worry about your actions, or worry about the smaller things, not on the bigger things. The bigger things will take care of themselves, as long as you're not too greedy about the result, and you just put in your work regardless of the result. You focus on the small things. So I think he's definitely doing that.
Am I putting the right amount of pressure on me? That's totally a part of the journey, but I'm kind of more in the part of the journey where I've matured a lot as a fighter. I've matured a lot as a person. I'm getting married this year. Like I'm a little bit older.
Congratulations, Mr. Sandhagen.
Looking at kids probably in the next couple of years. And so I had to start thinking like, what's sustainable? Like what's like a sustainable way to continue doing what I love, but also becoming like a more mature adult. And that's just part of the journey that I'm in right now. And I don't think that anything was wrong with the way that I was doing before, but it just is like a moving target all the time.
Nothing's really wrong as long as you learn from it, and he seems to have learned a lot from it. He's a successful fighter, he's a successful professional. So yeah, on the right path.
It's like you're just finding new ways to approach it and then realizing this way's better than the other way. Even though the other way was effective, this is even more effective.
It had its place because I had to experience what I thought that had to feel like in order for me to be the best martial artist that I can, because I do feel like I pointed all of my energy in my life and my mind and my spirit and everything towards the direction of being the best martial artist that I can be. And so going through that had its purpose, man. Like I had to figure out what it was like for me to be like a vicious killer, you know, because in society that's like not cool, you know. So
Right.
like almost like the shadow self or whatever is like
The shadow self, yes. Uh, yeah, if you really let your mind witness everything that's coming and you don't resist it, you go to some dark places, you will find out that there are certain things that you want to really do that don't fit in with being a good person and with being in the society. So I think that's what he sort of tapped into as well. I think he meditates from the sounds of it, and he does a lot of shadow work, or meditation a lot of the times is the shadow work. The person that's we live in duality. Nobody is really whole in the sense of being good or bad according to the social standards all the time. People that are really good during the day, that do good deeds and are really nice, and most of the times we are trying to force it because nobody can be completely, maybe 1 in a billion people can be born in such a way that their instincts are completely in line with the societal norms, but most of the times our natural instincts don't go according to societal norms. So I think that's what Mr. Sandhagen is talking about. He's talking about some of his instincts of wanting to kill another human being or do damage to survive. He tapped into those instincts, and in his social life he didn't like the person that he was becoming when he tapped into it, so he learned how to control his animalistic instincts or his shadow side, and he used them by turning them on at certain times when he was in the cage. So kudos to Mr. Sandhagen.
a subconscious term for it. I had to like experience that. I experienced it. I figured out that it was no longer serving me. It was being distracting. So what do I need to do now? Now it's like, okay, you figured that part out. You can be that guy whenever you want to be that guy, but now we're being present. Now we're enjoying it. And you don't really need to be that guy until you walk into the cage. And even when you do walk into the cage, you don't need to be this like really dramatic, super emphasized, like vicious guy. Like be that guy, but
Yeah, as I said, people who are really nice during the day, they go ahead and murder and rob and do all kinds of bad things in their dreams. So that's the shadow self manifesting itself when you turn the switch off and you go to sleep. In your subconscious mind, the shadow self is manifesting itself and showing you that that's your true instinct that you've been really blocking. You've been trying to suppress it, and now you're asleep, and now I'm going to show you what you really are. And that's what Mr. Sandhagen channeled and became aware of.
you don't have to overdo it. And when you're learning something, I almost feel like you have to completely overdo it in order to learn like where that cutoff is. Like even in technique, like if you could do an arm bar and win every single time with an arm bar, why would you ever stop doing arm bars?
Right.
It'd be stupid. So like you figure out how to like do something, way overdo it, figure out where the cutoff is and be like, okay, I can't do it in like those situations. You pull back, you figure out what situations you need to do it in, and then you move forward.
What was this? What happened? I lost. Can you hear me?
All right, from here, Joe Rogan just, I think, goes on a ramble where his mic stops working. I think we're gonna stop this video right here. It's already too long, probably. But yeah, we got to learn a lot from Mr. Sandhagen's experience and from the podcast. I love the way Mr. Sandhagen talked and described the things he felt and was feeling, and yeah, it gave us an opportunity to grow together. I hope to see you in the next video. It's been incredible filming this, getting this out of my system, as well as very therapeutic for me as well, and I hope it helps you out. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, if you want to like the video, please like the video. If you do not like the video, please let me know what you don't like, where I can improve myself, and hope to grow together.